Oh, okay. Hello. Oh, y'all, I just got out of therapy. That's fun. I got out of therapy and I'm like, oh, you know what? I need to process. So here I am processing on the motherfucking internet. Why? Because I'm a verbal processor and I like to talk about my shit. Great. It's great. Hello for anybody who doesn't know who I am. I'm Arugs. This is my channel. You know, it has come to my attention. I am not the same person I was a year ago. And that's a good thing. I mean, that is a good thing. That is a good thing. It's not a bad thing at all. I just you don't realize until you're in situations, and I know that's the fact. When you're in situations that or around people or talking with people that you've known forever or whatever, and you realize just your feelings and reactions and thoughts towards situations or people are different, and that's it's a lot to process. My therapist, one of my therapists, because I've screwed up enough that I'm not screwed up enough. I just need enough help that I got multiple, so it's fine. Um, she asked me today. She asked me. She goes, "What has been? Have you? What are some of the changes? What are some of the biggest changes that over the past year? What makes you different?" And I said, my ability to be aware of what a triggered state is, what I am triggered, what's a triggered versus triggered slash trauma response versus a true emotion. And which is very difficult for somebody with BPD to understand what, because sometimes the emotions are just so intense, and to understand that there's a difference between, I mean, all emotions, all the feelings are valid, but why am I feeling that way? Am I feeling that way because I am having a trauma triggered response, or am I having that feeling because I genuinely feel that way? And what exactly is the base? What is the root of that, of my feelings and emotions? And also, in that, I was like, and I said, and coupled with that is that learning that it isn't necessarily the person or situation's fault that I got triggered by something. And I no longer vilify that person. Now, if somebody does something that upsets me, they upset me and I'm allowed to be upset. But at the same time, it's I don't instantly go to a place of well, they did that on purpose. They're doing that to hurt me. I don't go to that bad place. The bad place. I try to approach it from a place of, I try to not blame the person and make the person the bad guy, but they accept them for who they are and just go, hey, what you did. So the action may have hurt me, but just because the action may have hurt me or triggered me or whatever, it doesn't instantly make that person bad or out to get me or out to abandon me or whatever. And so I think that's my biggest growth, which yay me. Yay. Uh, and I don't do it all the time, but I do. I'm starting to be more comfortable with that. I'm starting to become less of a, like, I have to consciously think, okay, where am I? What is this feeling? Where's the root of it and all that? So that's good. That's good. Yay. um, con this weekend. I know, like we went live. I was like, hey, we're gonna go live. We never did, and let me tell you, it was a lot of fun. Comic Palooza this weekend was a lot of fun. And I had a good time. We all had a good time. I mean, I guess I can't speak for everybody else, but I mean, let's just say, I feel like Enchanted Bear had much more of an exciting weekend than Real Bear did. And that's something I think we stepped out of our norm. I mean, a lot of us are con goers, so that was something. I think that was a lot of fun for me because it's no longer just we're walking around the exhibition hall and then going to a couple panels, and it's actually just like and everyone was so nice. I think that is just one of the things I love about just this community, the nerd con community. I think it's that embracing of just all the different things. Like this person's doing something weird, and the moment most of us said we're on a quest, they were all about it. And I'm like, yeah, it was a lot of fun. So and let me tell you, I have picked up the hobby of cosplaying. It was a lot. 3.5 hours of trying to get ready. It was that for Saturday alone. And my Fallout costume has gotten very extensive, and I have so much Fallout stuff. And here's the thing, I don't have a vault suit. I have never gone as a vault dweller. I've always gone last year I did my treasure hunters, and then I also did the red dress, and which is popular in 76. And then this year I just went as a wastelander, and it was just, I still don't have a vault suit, but that's fine. I've been processing a lot lately, just processing a lot and really assessing a lot about my life and who I am and what I'm doing and where I am at emotionally and mentally, and how I want to show up for myself and how I want to be and sort of what I want my state of norm to be. And that's it is not nearly as daunting as it used to be. But it's still daunting. I think it's less daunting is, I guess, the only way I can put it. Like, how do I want to show up for myself? How do I want to show up for other people? What is acceptable for me? What isn't acceptable for me? And yeah, I think I got a lot. I think for me, I am starting to heal a lot of these internal wounds that I had, which is a good thing. It is a good thing. And I was talking with my individual therapist this past week about coming from a healed place and what that's like. And I said this on my Sharecast on Marco Polo because I like to share a lot there. I do a lot of sharing on there on my random ramblings on my Sharecast. But yeah, how my homework was just to exist. And accept my place of where I am in my healed state, in my healing, and also accepting just existing in the fact that there are parts of me that still is growing and healing and learning, and I am healing. I am not healed, and that's okay. And to exist in that space where that's okay. Because I very much am one of those, why am I not healed yet? Why is this not better? Why is it like, I'm very much that person. But I'm not healed. I'm healing, and that's okay. But I think I'm also coming to the what is acceptable for me. What is acceptable for me? I think I'm coming to I think that's where my contemplation is like, okay, I have done these major hard things that have sucked and have been hard. And I love the fact that I have therapists that I can curse with because healing fucking sucks. And she goes, yes, it fucking does. And I'm like, and it's hard and it's painful and it doesn't like, this is hard. And she goes, yeah, if it were easy, then you would have been done by now. And I'm like, listen, Linda. But I think now it's one of those, now that I'm healing certain parts of myself and I'm being aware of the traumas and the triggers and my coping mechanisms and my thought patterns and my thought processes. And I am very well aware and I've worked on those things. Now things are I'm getting to the place to where what is acceptable behavior for me to accept from other people. In that, I used to be so worried about that my behaviors and how I acted and things I said and all these things, how could I do that to keep them from leaving me, to keep them happy, to get, people pleasing, parentified older daughter, like that whole thing, that whole mess. But at so now that I'm working on not enabling people and not people pleasing and not getting my validation and my sense of self and self-worth from other people, and how and getting to that place where I'm secure in who I am and my flaws and my insecurities and all of those things, getting to this place where I am right now in that comfort of, I know that I don't need that validation. I don't need anybody's approval. And honestly, I don't need to be rescued. I don't need to be I don't need any of those things. It's a very good and secure place. So now I'm less, okay, here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm working, what I'm working on. And those are good things. And so now what? So now, because I it's like, okay, so now where's my discomfort coming from? And it's a lot of my current discomfort is coming from a place of how I react to other people and how their treatment of me and how they see me and how they talk to me and how they view me and all of those things, and what's acceptable and what isn't acceptable. And what my responsibility within that relationship is. I'm actually, we talked about that today in therapy, just a few, like what my responsibility is in that role with other people. And that's hard. I think what's hard about it is that when you're working on yourself and you're working on your own trauma and your own issues and wounds and all of that stuff, you're doing it for yourself. So it's like you're in this little isolated bubble, right? But like when you are finally working with your interpersonal relationships with other people, and I know I've said this from the beginning, I've been saying this for 1.5 years. I've been saying this since I started this whole journey of really intense therapy and healing process for about 1.5 years. It's like, I really want to work on my relationships and my interactions with other people. And I finally, what I didn't understand back then, but that was also my goal. My goal is to get there. So what I didn't understand back then, because I thought that was my main thing, was that I had to work on myself. I had to fix and heal and work on myself and understand who I am and where all of those things before I could work on my relationships with others and my standards and my boundaries and all of that. So now that I finally gotten to a place to where okay, where am I going now? Okay, now it's like one of those, I did all the prerequisite stuff. You know how like it's like a college course or like some class or certification. It's like, okay, you have to do all these prerequisites before you get to start the thing that you want to do. And so I think that's where I am right now, is I've done all the prerequisites. I'm like, all right, I'm good to go. Now I can actually start working on how I am in relationship to other people. And that's really difficult to do especially when you're coming from a place of people pleasing trauma, that I am. But now I'm in that place. It's like, okay, I can't in that very solid state of understanding, I cannot control other people. I cannot control how they feel, how they think. Nothing that I can do is going to change their behavior towards me. However, I can vocalize and I can verbalize and I can have a discussion and I can be receptive to where they are coming from and I can listen to that. I can also be aware of how what they're doing makes me feel. And I can also vocalize how that, like, it's one of those. Now I know I had to do all the self work because trying to work on my relationships with other people before doing the work that I do on myself is next to near impossible. Um, yeah. And I think that I am starting to see a lot of people in a different light now that I'm coming now that I'm growing into myself and growing into my relationships with people. And yeah, it's sort of hard. It's hard to be that, because I have to evaluate where I am and also have to accept where they are. And understanding that I can't control other people and they are where they are and they make their own choices. And, but I do not have to just sit there and go, well, they're working on it. No, that's not good either. And I think that that's the place where I'm growing, is that I can be empathetic and accepting and non-judgmental of someone and still hold my own standards and my own boundaries. I can appreciate that you are working hard and you're doing the hard work. However, that your behavior is still not acceptable to me. I can say that. I can say those things. I can say this is not acceptable and this is not okay. Just because somebody, and I would fully expect somebody to say that to me, just because somebody is working on themselves or working on something doesn't mean you have to just blanketly accept that is just where they are. I mean, yeah, you do, but I mean, accept that is just how that they're going to treat you. If what they are doing is hurting you or being harmful to you or causing you some sort of stress and pain and anguish, yeah, maybe they don't mean to do that. Maybe they don't mean to do all of those things, but that also doesn't mean I have to suffer in silence, and I have to suffer in the relationship, be it familial or friendship or romantic or any of those things. It doesn't mean I have to suffer in silence and be accepting of that they're working on it. So, I mean, I don't want to be I don't want to not appreciate the word, but no, fuck that. If it doesn't, and like, if it is not encouraging you, if it's not supporting you, if it's not something that is like, yes, we are going to have to accept things about other people that we don't like and that we don't approve. But when it's when it becomes mentally and emotionally harmful, that's when you got to be a little aware of where your limits are. There's a difference between limits and boundaries, and that's a big thing. What are your boundaries with that person? And what are your limits with that person? Because sometimes, and I know especially with me, I've had people set limits with me. I can be a lot. And I'm not saying I'm too much. I mean, I know that my trauma tells me I'm too much, but I know I can be a lot. I'm very talkative. I'm very neurodivergent. I'm a lot. And there's a lot of there. I'm a lot. I'm a lot. And so sometimes I am just, some people just don't have the capacity to deal with me. And I just, and I've been told, I love you, but I don't have the energy for you right now. I just don't have the limit. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. And I try to apologize. Like, it's not that, I try to be respectful, but limits are different than boundaries. And your capacity to handle things. I think like they call it the spoons. I've never used the spoon theory. I actually had somebody explain it to me and I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. But I've just never, in my therapies, we never used the spoon theory. Um, I think it's because a lot of my stress and my is wrapped up in my trauma and my trauma responses. And so we work on that instead of spoons. But yeah. I'm finally there. It's nice to be there. It's nice. But I'm also it's I think a little bit part of me is like it's a little daunting. I've done all the prerequisites. I've done the self work. Now I'm actually working on the interpersonal relationships, and it's daunting. And I know I said that before, but it is fucking daunting. But it's worth it. It is worth it. I'm learning I can't be everything to everyone. I'm learning that I think this is another area of growth that I'm really, really proud of is I don't need to be doted on. I don't need I think that that's the big turning point for me is and this is huge is not needing is being able to take a compliment or being able to take like say getting hit on or being like some type of comment or that and taking it as it is, and it isn't filling a tank of some sort. It isn't filling a need. It is not filling any of this. Like so many people, for example, at con this weekend, so many people were complimenting me on both on Saturday and Sunday when I dressed up. A lot of people on Saturday, they wanted to take my picture. They said, "Oh my God, your makeup is beautiful. You did a great job. This must have taken forever." Like there were so many people coming up to me and complimenting me and admiring the work that I've done. And it filled me with a different feeling than what it used to fill me with before. And when people used to compliment me before, I got a sense of purpose. I got a sense of, oh, people notice me. I got this sense of, okay, well, I'm actually worth something. I got this feeling of, oh, like, whatever. A lot of, I could keep going, but this time around, this past weekend, I just got a sense of happiness and a sense of gratitude, and it hit real different. And I'm not saying that it didn't hit in a place or their compliments were just like, oh, of course, of course, you're glad somebody did. No, it was very much, they complimented me, and I felt grateful that somebody noticed. And I took it for what it was. It was a compliment. I smiled for the pictures and I let them take the picture, and I smiled and I was grateful for their compliment. And then I moved on. I didn't hold on to their compliments as a source of validation. I didn't hold on to their compliments as a source of reassurance that I was doing the right thing or was choosing the right thing or was doing any of these things. I felt grateful and happy, and I moved on, and I was like, thank you for noticing my work. And then and that was honestly, I know it sounds really weird. I know it sounds odd, but I felt really good about that. I felt really, really good about that validation or that lack of need for that validation. It's a very strange place for me to be quite honest. To not need to be told all the time that I'm beautiful, to not need to be told all the time that somebody wants me, or somebody thinks I'm pretty, or somebody notices me, or that my work is valid and everything that I was like, I took pride in, and I felt good in what I did and how I looked, and I in my costuming and how hard that worked. I took pride in that in myself, and I thought it looked great. And you know what? I thought it was fabulous. And if somebody else noticed and thought it was fabulous too, that's just a bonus. It wasn't I did it hoping that somebody would notice. I did it because I wanted to, and I did it, and I thought the result looked amazing, and I felt good about it, and I already felt good, and I already came from a secure place in myself, and I wasn't doing my cosplay either day for somebody else. I was doing it for me, and because I liked it and I felt good about it, and I had worked hard on it, and I felt good already. And so it didn't matter whether people noticed me or not. It didn't matter. I could have gone all day. I really could have. I could have gone all day and nobody had said anything to me about whether they liked my cosplay or not. And I would have still been okay. I still would have been happy with it. I still would have felt great. I really would have. And it was just a bonus. It was what was a bonus is that my kids, they dressed up with me on Saturday along with, Sean and Calvino and Jay, and we all dressed up, and we were all a troop, and we were all a thing, and we went on quests, and that was so much fun. And it was just enjoying the moment, and the fact that my kids, all three of us, they felt good, and it was like, look at me, and they just enjoyed just being. We both were just enjoying being in the moment and being together. And just how much fun, just seeing how much fun that they had dressing up. And it was also a bonus. They were like, people want to stop and take all of our pictures. Like they wanted to take pictures of me and my girls together because we were just, we obviously coordinated, and it was one of those, they just thought it was the greatest thing. And my girls just felt like rock stars, and that's awesome. And it's also awesome that they weren't afraid. They weren't afraid to show up, and they were just enjoying. Chloe was enjoying being a dragon, and Nora was enjoying carrying around the cat piano and being a bard, and it was a lot of fun. And I think that that's the biggest change of my interactions with other people. I think that that's why it's super important that if you want to build healthy relationships, I think I am slowly learning, and I could be off base, so I don't know, because this is still new to me. It's like I'm slowly learning that if I want to have genuine, real, authentic, healthy relationships with other people, I cannot concentrate on other people. That the hard work I did on myself, that I'm doing, that the groundwork that I did for myself is the most important way, because once I started healing that part of myself that was insecure and needy and anxious, and not even because I'll never heal my BPD, but at least coming to a place of understanding of it, and coming from a place of I'm learning. I have my DBT, I have my skills. I'm learning those things about myself and understanding that, and really. The less validation and self-worth my self-worth relied on other people, the stronger my relationships have become with other people. Because I'm not draining them. I'm not siphoning from them. I am not taking out my traumas on them. I am not expecting things from them. I am not all of these things. I am not draining that relationship to try to maintain a sense of purpose or validation. What I'm doing is now I am actually able to go, this is who I am. I am valid. I am worth things. This is my feelings. And I'm able to also communicate in a way that is healthy. Shh, use that dirty word, that dirty H word. um, which means my relationships with other people has changed drastically. And my view of other people and how our relationships are has changed drastically, and not in a bad way, so much as in a way of, oh, whoa, oh, like one of those, you're slowly, like somebody's like, you're slowly waking up and you're realizing how your behavior and insecurities and traumas have affected that friendship and that relationship because of how that other person, like how you and that other person interact. And it's having to grow within that. And that's hard. Some people aren't going to be able to grow with you. Some people can't see you as healed. They can't, or maybe something in their needs and their traumas and their responses, like they need you to be, for lack of a better word, they need you to be broken so that they can feel validated in whatever it is that they're doing. I've unfortunately, I have discovered that I have more relationships like that in my life than I want to admit, and that's made things very lonely sometimes, because you're having to just be like, I'm not broken. I don't need that. I don't need you. And their trauma instantly kicks in and goes, well, if you don't need me, then what, why? Like, oh, okay. So you were basically using me to validate yourself. You were using my trauma and so now that I'm in a place where I don't need that validation and I don't need it, like, I'm not insecure. I'm working on myself now that's a place where you're going to come at me from. Okay. Well, that's not okay with me. And that's been very difficult for me to say. Because no one likes cutting people out of their life. Well, I wouldn't say no one, not a lot of people, especially a lot of traumatized people like me, but it's one of those, I'm too old for that shit. Too old for that shit. I'm too old to just like wait for you to figure it out. Like if your only need is whatever it is that you can provide for, if you need the validation of me being broken and me needing you, and if you can't accept me for who I am and being, because the reality is that I'm outgoing and I am funny and I'm smart and I have a personality and I like doing my own thing and I like being that way. And I say I say all those things and I have all the emotions. And if you can't, I think it's one of those, there's this difference between like, if the basis of our relationship was us using each other, did we really have a good relationship to begin with? That's how I feel about that. Because that is such a, that is just such a hard thing to come to terms with, especially when you're like evaluating. First off, you're taking accountability for because I think it's unhelpful for me. I'm going to say this, and again, I'm not a professional. I'm just a trauma Triskin on the internet. But I think for me, it's one of those. okay, what am I genuinely accountable for? Because I used to just apologize for everything and take ownership of all of it. I'm not going to own up to all of it because all of it, but what am I actually responsible for? What is my part in this relationship? Because before it's one of those, well, if you do this and you do this and you do this, and then our relationship will be better. That no, no, no. It takes two people to have a relationship. It takes two people to come together and have this conversation. It takes two people, being able to listen and not be defensive. And it takes two. So that doesn't mean that one person is solely responsible. It's just like unpopular opinion. Now, there are some people who cheat to cheat, but like, that's why a lot of people, like when you're in a relationship and the other person's unfaithful, like, okay, now some people are unfaithful because they're unfaithful, but then there are some people who are driven to infidelity because they have a need. They are feeling neglected or ignored or whatever, and sometimes it's like, was there anything that I did that could have caused that? Was there anything that I was not giving them or providing for them? And if there isn't, then there isn't. Like, you were giving them everything and they still decided to cheat. Well, then, okay, well, that's on them. But maybe you felt like you were working all the time to give them everything they wanted, but they were sitting at home feeling neglected and emotionally and alone. And so they were just reaching out to somebody who was going to give them that attention. Even though you felt like you were giving everything, they felt like they were getting nothing. And so finding that balance between two people, because you don't even realize what you're doing. And I say this because I just got out of family therapy, and I just got out of that, and I am constantly having to come to that realization, and that thought is, I'm having to come to that. What was my role in this, and what did I perceive my actions? What did I perceive to be doing versus how they received what I was doing? And those are they are literally night and day. I didn't mean to do that. That's not what I meant. That's not what I was doing. Well, this is how they saw it. This is how they received it. This is how they interpreted it because of their trauma, because of their coping mechanisms, because of their triggers. They were interpreting it a completely different way than I was trying to send it. And that's not a bad thing. I think it's one of those, it's showing growth in yourself. For me, it's going, okay, well, my intentions were not that, but I can recognize how you saw that. So learning to understand the other person, where their triggers are, what their needs are. And even as a friend, this is like friendships, relationships, like understanding what their needs are, understanding who they are, and not necessarily what you think they should have, what you think that they should give them, what you think. Just because you think, do a certain way doesn't mean they are receiving it that way, doesn't mean that they are okay with that, and just accepting that in general, and working hard to understand. First off, every person's different, and working hard to understand that sometimes what they need is going to hit on your trauma. And that's really hard. And I'm going to say, for example, just a random off the nuts example, like, because I'm BPD and I have an anxious attachment, my fear of abandonment is huge. It is terrifying. Sometimes it is incredibly crippling, and it has altered my choices and my thought process and decisions and a whole bunch of things. So my fear of abandonment is a very deep-rooted terror. It's not even just a fear. And say I am with someone, or in a friendship or whatever, with somebody who just needs some space, that just doesn't necessarily have to have, like, they just need their space. They need to go, hey, I'm just overloaded. I just need to just be by myself. I just need to mellow out this weekend. Or maybe say for example, I'm in a romantic relationship with somebody and they like, I need a weekend away, just like with my friends or whatever. I just need some time, some space. And my brain goes, they're leaving me. They don't want me. They don't love me. I gotta, what am I doing? And all of these things. And the reality is they just need some space. They're not leaving me. But I have to do the work and take accountability, because before I'd be like, do all the things and apologize and do all the things, but sit in this discomfort in my head and just think of all the ways that I've done wrong and maybe I can improve, and maybe the things that maybe I can be a better person and I can change this and I can do this and I can do all that, like blah, 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 blah. But I have to be my own champion and I have to be my own person and be like, okay, calm the fuck down. They're not leaving you. They just need space. And I'm like, that's not okay. It is okay. It's okay for them to need space. And what they need. And so then especially for me, I kick into hyperdrive of, what do you need? Like, what can I get for you? I'm sorry. I know I'm this. And then I start apologizing. I start apologizing for being too needy and too much and over this stuff, which is then me trying to apologize and make up for being too much and overwhelming and too emotional and whatever, and overwhelming overwhelming their limits. Me trying to apologize and make right, which is then, but because I am over here doing so much, I am hitting past their limit, when all I really need to do is, I'm sorry, you're right, okay, I'll give you some space. But at the same time, also going, I understand you need your space, but please understand that this is hitting my trauma. And so when you are capable of, when you get back and you've had your time to decompress, I would really appreciate it if you spent some times reassuring me that everything's okay. And if you're in a healthy relationship, they'll be like, yes, I understand. And you come to that conversation, but I never had those conversations before. Never had those conversations. What are those conversations? Those are healthy conversations. I didn't have those before. I had the whole, they're leaving me, I'm going to do everything, and not ever communicate with the other person. No, what is communication? I have no fucking clue what that is. No, what is healthy emotional communication of your needs and wants? And what is healthy reception and listening and hearing what your partner needs or your friend needs and accepting that and coming to a, hey, okay, I'm hearing you. I'm receiving this information, but here is how this is making me feel. And so where can we find this? I don't know what that is. It looks nice on paper. It looks nice in like theory. I don't know what that is in practice. What is that in practice? What is that in actual practice? It's like, oh, it's a rare sighting of an Arugs healthy conversation. I feel like that's like a documentary. And here you see it, Arugs in the wild. So that's what I'm going to try and work on. I think that's where I'm at is, yeah. And also just, I'm done. I think I'm sort of tired. I'm exhausted of, like I'm tired of the whole words not matching the actions thing. You know how that, like, you know how salt looks like sugar, but they taste very different. I think that's where it's like I want sugar to taste like sugar, and I want salt to taste like salt, and I want them to be labeled clearly, like flour and powdered sugar. Like, okay, they all look the same, but they are very different things. And I think I'm tired of that. I'm tired of living my life in a whole, don't give me this whole spiel. Don't tell me with words. I don't want to hear your mouth. Show up. Either show up the way you are, and your actions are going to speak way more than your words are. I'm done with people trying to gaslight me. I'm done with people trying to, convince me of things. I'm tired of people saying the right things. I'm saying the right things, and they're not even saying the right things. Whatever. I'm done with that. If you can't behave and your actions can't match what you're telling me and what we have discussed, then I don't need you in my life. I'm done guessing. I'm done being responsible for that, and I am done I am done having a conversation between me and somebody else, and then the actions don't line up with the discussion that we had. And then I'm having to go, where is this coming from? This is not what we talked about. And then I get hurt, and then I get upset. And then it's this whole cycle that I'm tired of going through. Show up how you say, or don't show up at all. Yeah. Don't tell me that you're going to try and work on XYZ, and you just absolutely are continuing to repeat the same behaviors. That's where I'm at with that. I think that that's the part that is just the most frustrating. And then I'm finding more and more people in my life, because I spent so much time desperately wanting to believe that they are going to change. I desperately believing that what they were telling me, because I wanted to have faith and I wanted to trust them, and I wanted to really, because I thought I valued this person in my life. And I still value these people in my life, but it is saying a whole hell of a fucking lot if we're having these conversations and I'm valuing and trusting that they are going to do what they say, and they don't, because then that shows that I value them way more than they value me. That I respect them and I trust them way more than they trust and respect me. Because if they trusted and respect and valued me, they would make concerted efforts to change their behaviors and become and evolve our relationship and our friendship. And again, when I say relationships, I don't mean romantic. I don't mean just friendship. I mean all relationships. Don't say one thing and then don't, again, it's very obvious. If we're having, there's so many people, and I have to take accountability for that, and that fucking sucks. That sucks. I have to take accountability for that. These are the people that I spent my time and energy on, and that I valued, and that I put forth so much effort into building a relationship with, and yet I valued them and I worked and I'm putting in the work and the effort, and it doesn't seem like I'm getting the same amount in return. And there is a huge difference between, because sometimes some people you're going to have to give more than the other person. But when it's a consistent thing where you're giving 150% and they're only giving 50, when you're trying to find a compromise, or you're trying to find, a middle ground with somebody, especially when, you don't agree on something, or your triggers are really close together, and just saying, okay, well, I will attempt to not do this if you will attempt to not do that, and finding that, hello. Hi, Bobby. When you're in that place, and you're doing all the compromising and trying to not trigger them, but they are not making any type of effort to change their behaviors or thought processes to help, like, and they're just like, oh, that's not healthy either for me. Again, not a professional. I am a trauma trisket rambling on the internet. And that's where I'm at. So I'm just learning a lot about myself. And I'm learning a lot. And that's okay. And that's good. It's good. And I'm feeling good about it. It's just a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of self-reflection. And it's a lot of I didn't think a year and a half ago when I started all of this, I had an idea of who I wanted my future self to be. I didn't think that my future self would be this person. I didn't think so. I honestly didn't. I hoped it would be this person. And I'm still sad, and I still have depressive episodes, and I still deal with anxiety, and I still do with BP episodes. And my trauma response is fuck when I'm triggered. It's terrible. It is awful. And I don't know. I don't know if anybody else has been through this in the healing process, but like when you have a trauma response and being really aware, and especially when you've done all the work, like being really aware that you know you're in a trauma response, and yet being helpless to stop the trauma response, and you're in management, you're in regulation mode. Fucking the worst. It is the worst. I don't know which is worse. Honestly, I don't know which is worse, is to have a bad trauma trigger in a trauma episode or a BPD episode and not know, and just ride out that emotion and let them make you feel like crap, versus having the same episodes, but then being very well aware and knowing you have tools and all of this stuff, but being aware that you're in those episodes and why you're in those episodes, but there's nothing you can do about it. And you know that you're just going to have to ride it out. I don't know. I don't know which is worse. I feel like they're both bad. I feel like they're both terrible and really shitty. I just terrible. Just like any other storm, just like I like my little ship metaphor, my little sailor metaphor. It's like I know they're both really shitty. Riding the storm, no matter how skilled you are, no matter how skilled of a sailor you are, the riding out the storm is still going to be shitty. It's going to be scary. It's going to be all the things. It's still going to be the same. The experience is still going to be the same. It is just in how you navigate it. It is how knowing, like, when you don't have the skills, you don't know if you're going to get through it. You don't know if you're going to survive that storm. You don't know, because you're just holding on for dear life. But I think now the difference is, though the experience is still really shitty, and the episodes and the triggers are still really shitty, I know that I can navigate through that. I know that I'm going to come out the other end. Is it going to suck? Yes. And I know that it's going to suck, and I know that it's going to be hard, but I know that I'm going to eventually, the storm is going to run out of rain. And I know that I've got the skills that I can navigate through the storm. The storm still sucks. And acknowledging that the storm sucks is the most important part for me, is that I know that this is still going to suck, and I know that it's still hard, and that I'm still struggling, and that it's still, and not judging myself for that. I think I've grown enough that I have been able to understand, because I when I first started this journey, I was very judgmental of myself, in the fact that I'm like, well, I have these skills. I shouldn't be having these episodes. I shouldn't be triggered. I shouldn't be feeling this way. When the reality is, it is not preventing. Having these skills isn't about preventing the episodes. It is about learning how to navigate through these episodes, because I have a mental illness. I have depression, I have anxiety, I have BPD. These are not going to go away. They are a part of who I am, and I have to accept that. And I have to accept that sometimes and I have trauma. I have trauma, and that also will not go away. Can I heal parts of that to where it isn't as severe parts of my trauma? Yes, absolutely. But that's also still not going to go away. And learning to be accepting of that and embracing of that, and then also embracing that in other people has really helped a whole lot. But it still sucks. And having to navigate that storm and getting to the other side, it still sucks. It's still hard. And I'm not perfect, but I make it out, and I make it out the other side eventually. Still here. Not perfect, but working on it. Not working on being perfect, but just working on me. And sometimes that's a lot. And that's okay. And taking my own responsibility for my own actions in my relationships with other people, that's huge. And understanding where I stand and my needs and my wants are valid, but not needing the validation from other people. It's also very huge, especially with somebody with my mental illnesses. Understanding that and accepting those feelings and fears of abandonment and those fears of insecurities and those insecurities and those feelings and traumas of feeling lacking in things, and understanding what those are, and then validating myself. I don't just judge myself saying I shouldn't have these thoughts anymore. What I do is I think those thoughts, and I go, okay, I have those thoughts. Now what's the reality? And I instantly try to follow it up with, what's okay? We know that's not true. And reparenting yourself and reparenting your inner child is fucking hard. Yeah. Math is good too. Okay. Oh, I've been on for an hour because that's what I do. You all know that if I'm going live just sporadically and miscellaneously, that I'm going to be talking for an hour at least. And so I think it's time for me to get off and actually go be a productive human and go a member of society, or just, enjoy my last few hours of my holiday. So I hope you're enjoying your holiday if you're in the United States. And happy Memorial Day. And as somebody who grew up in a military family, if you have lost someone, if you have lost somebody who is also in the military, those people gave the ultimate sacrifice. And Memorial Day was also for those in World War I. And if you don't know anything about the devastation of that war, I'm not promoting it. I'm a history buff, so it's like that. That's the history of Memorial Day. Is that it's a big deal. And if you really read up about what the holiday is actually about, it's actually very interesting. So yeah, but you're welcome, Jay. So yeah. Thank you for letting me have an hour of your time while I verbally process through some things, and I do it on the internet. I haven't streamed a lot in a while. I haven't felt like streaming for the very reason of I was not in a mental and emotional place to do that. I think I've gotten to the point to where my need to be reassured while I'm processing has gotten less, and my need to be able to process and validate and heal and work on myself in private has become so more important. However, my desire and my want to share my journey with everyone else is still there. I still want to share with you what I'm going through, and I still want to share. It's just I'm not as much in crisis mode anymore. So like, again, just like everything else, I've evolved, and my streaming is evolving. And so I'm really, now that summer's coming up and my workload is going to start decreasing just a little bit, and so that I'll be able to have more energy, more mental and emotional capacity to stream. I think I'm going to start picking up streaming again. I think I start wanting gaming again on, stream gaming, and I'm on 3 Bards and a Dragon, but I'd like to, and we do waking up, but not as nearly as regularly as I'd like. But I'd like to pick up, I have In the Middle, and I sort of want to pick that back up, and start that again, and just really just sort of pick up more of my streaming. So that's sort of hopefully my plan for the summer 2024. Only because summer 2023, I was literally turning my life upside down. So maybe it would be nice to have a summer where I am, and I'm sitting here, and instead of doing all these major changes, trying to learn to settle into myself and my streaming and who I am. So we'll see. But with that, thank you for allowing me the space to share. Not like it really. Thanks for staying and listening, I guess. I don't know, I guess. But thank you for coming into my space and while I shared. So thank you, Bobby. And thank you, Jay, for watching and those commenting. And I will see you guys later. Okay. Bye.